Hi everyone, my name is Nicole Miyuki and this is Let's Make Art, and we letter together as a community every week. And we are actually we're on our June box. This is the first project of our June box that we're going in. We're going to be using watercolors and some different lettering techniques. This is the project, sorry I forgot to say, this is the project we're doing. And Keenan likes the name of it.
I love this project name. A whole new world.
This is the step sheet. If you have our box or the kit, it's called A Whole New World. And so there are, let me go through the supplies. Like I said, we are doing watercolors for this one, and there are 3 different colors that I'll be using. Magenta, yellow ochre, and good old Tahoe blue. The brush I'm using is the Princeton Lauren series. It's the round 2. So you can use, if you have the other brushes, if you have our Let's Make Art brushes, actually, you can use any of those. Anything works. We won't be using this for lettering. This is simply for painting. For lettering, we're going to be using the Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen. And this one is the hard tip one. And I'm gonna also show how you can use a micron pen. Okay, now for the steps. There are 2 different versions that I'm not gonna go through both of them. I just wanted you to see them both because you can use the same technique for all of them. The first one is I'm gonna trace the circle. Second step is we're gonna draw the hills with pencil. Third step is your watercolors. And then 4th step is your lettering. So I'll show you how to go through all of that. Now, I don't have a plate. So the first step is to draw a circle. You can either freehand it if you have a plate or a bowl. I realize I'm just gonna use my watercolor palette.
Oh, nice.
Which you also will get this in the box as well. And if hopefully we'll have some extras of this box, so you can also get it. You can get all these different supplies in that. I'm going to use my pencil and I'm going to outline. Yeah, this is perfect. Outline my circle. Now, you have the option to design this scenery however you like. This is your world, and so you can figure out how many hills you want, if you want them to be more straight instead of curved. I'm going to just draw a few of them, but the idea is that for this project is that your hills are going to be where you are drawing your lettering. So if you want to have more hills, if you want to have less hills, but just so you know, that's what we're going to use as your guidelines. Draw my hills. I'm going to draw my moon or your sun, whatever you want to make it. Right there. I realize I should draw darker for you so you can see. So I'm just kind of sketching it. That's my guidelines. Now, you are going to start with your watercolors now. What I suggest to do is, if you're not sure what colors you want, because you can see from mine is that there are 2 different colors. A good practice thing that you can do if you want to, if watercolors if this is your first time using it, there is a June lettering color wheel that I created, so you can figure out, you're starting with yellow ochre, Tahoe blue, and magenta, but you can see you can get a whole array of different colors. And what I do when I start projects sometimes is let me move this so there's not so much going on, is I just kind of you can either create your own color wheel or you can create swatches and you can figure out, okay, I like this color palette with maybe this blue. And that's kind of how I figured out this. I made my blue a little bit more navy than this one, but that's just a tip I wanted to give you as you were trying to figure out what colors you want to do for your own scenery. So we're gonna do this, or which one do you think I should do?
I like the dark.
Yeah?
I like the moon.
Okay.
But the blue on the other one turned out so good.
I know, it's okay. Well, I'll just have this here. It's literally the same technique.
Perfect.
I'll mix it up. I'll do that. I don't know how I can show you everything at once.
I don't think you can. You have to
Okay.
choose one. You got to choose one.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go for it. Okay, So what I suggest to do is to start with the bottom hill. And the reason why I'll show you in a second. So let's see, where's my colors? So I'm going to start with my bottom hill. I'm gonna make kind of, if I have my color wheel, I'm gonna make like this clay color. I'm gonna start over here. So I'm gonna mix magenta and yellow ochre. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make some different arrays of colors. This is a technique that I like to do is I'm going to add more drops of magenta here because that's my magenta. Add a few drops there and then one drop there. And then I'm going to take yellow ochre and do the opposite, and I'm going to add more here. A few drops there and one drop there. So that way I should get an array. Ooh, might need to add a little bit. Oh, that kind of got. Oh yeah, that's good. So do you see how those are? Oh, I did the I should have done that the other way.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is closer to magenta,
Yeah.
and this one's closer to that one. But so you can see that that's how I was able to get 3 different colors. If you want to make them, like if that is too red and you want to add a little bit more yellow ochre, I'm going to add a little bit to all of them because I don't want it to be so strong, then you can do that. That's just a different technique. I know Sarah likes to use the butcher palette, so that's another way you can do this as well. Just want to show because you have the palette in your box. Okay, so I'm going to start with my darker color, and I'm going to simply paint. I'm going to have it be a little bit darker on the top, and then as I get to the bottom, I'm going to dip in water, and then I'm going to blend it out. So you'll see on my hills here, the tops are darker, and then as you go down, they get a little bit lighter. So that creates this rounded type of look. So now I'm going to go to the next color. I'm going to do the same things. I'm going to start from the top. And because I'm going to be adding lettering on top of it, just something to keep in mind is I'm not going to make it such a dark color. I want it to have a pop of a vibrancy, which is why I have it on the top. But especially for this one, I'm going to add my lettering inside, so I don't want it to be too dark. So I'm kind of dipping into my water, getting some, oops, wrong color. Getting some color. So it's diluting it a little bit and creating a tint.
You want to push that slightly to the up and right?
Uh-huh.
Your right?
Oh.
Yes. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So it's cool, got a hint. And if you want to mix it even within the hill, I'm gonna go in and add a little bit of the ochre. You can mix the colors within the hill. That totally works as well. So when you get to, I wasn't very careful, but when you get to the next hill, you can either, in between hills, you can wait till it dries, or when you get closer, just be careful. Because if you touch, the thing is that if you touch and they both, and it's a little bit wet, it will bleed a little bit, which is okay. But if you don't want that, just be a little bit more mindful about that. And then the last thing for this is I'm going to go back in and I'm actually going to add a little bit of color to the outside because I want it to feel rounded. So by doing that, just a really small hint of it. And it creates these cool blooms. Okay, keep going. Let yourself get in the zone. It's really relaxing. And if you've been lettering with us, you might notice that the hold that I'm using for my brush is different. So you might paint differently than I do, but I for sure know that I letter different, or my grip is different when I hold a paintbrush than when I letter. When I letter, I usually like to be grounded and I like to have more support. When I'm painting, I'm a little bit more looser, so my grip feels a little bit more looser. So just some food for thought. As you were doing this, I'm going to go back in and add my darker color. Okay, now I have my last color, which is my yellow ochre. So again, if you want to wait in between, you can for it to dry. But I'm going to keep going for it. I really like this yellow ochre color.
I like the whole composition of it.
Yeah?
Yeah, the circle is just great.
Soothing colors. Okay. Cool. Now, I am going to mix a night sky color. So, if you're looking at, is this in the shot?
It is.
Okay, our color wheel, I don't have this same exact navy that I did, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start and I'm gonna mix this indigo. So I'm gonna have my Tahoe blue, see Tahoe blue, and I'm gonna have, actually, because I'm not using Tahoe blue, I'm just gonna use this one. So this is Tahoe blue. I'm gonna add a touch of magenta. And I have, let's see, I want you to see what I'm working with.
That's pretty.
That is a really pretty color.
Oh, that is pretty.
So what I'm thinking is I love that color. I want to make a darker version of that color, but I want to keep that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just move some of it over. So I move some of this color over. And now what I want to do is I want to kind of think about it as dirtying that color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a drop of of all the colors together. So I'm going to add a drop of yellow ochre and a drop of magenta. Let's see what I have now. So do you see how that kind of dirtied that color a little bit? It's not quite purple because I added a touch of the yellow ochre. So when you mix all three colors together, it makes either like a brown or a black. So that's what's called muddying it. Usually that's not what you want, oh snap, what you want to go for, but in this case I do. And I got a little bit, it's okay. Could have become a shadow.
Saved.
Oh, good thing I caught it. Oh, snap. This is the reality of, I'm gonna make this is how you make things work. It's okay. There. Okay, so I have the two colors that I really like, and so I'm gonna do a mix of them. So I'm gonna paint this and I'm gonna dip into both of these colors. Now, you will see that I kind of had this moon effect, so it's not just a stark white line. So actually, I'm gonna start with the outside first and then I'll go to the moon. But I'm gonna dip in my color. Remove this. So I'm gonna kind of mix it in. So I'm not gonna always pick up the same color. And I'm gonna start with the edges. And as you're doing this, you will use some water and blend that in. Then you can pick up more color and add that in. So that's why it's not that way, it's not a harsh line. And then you can have fun with this. This is your night sky. Do you want it to have a really dark hue there and then lighter hue there? It is up to you. Maybe you add stars to it. If you have the bleed proof white after, you can do that as well.
You could also use salt.
Or that. Yes, salt. I'm gonna add some explosions.
What were you gonna say? You said, oh, really excited.
No, I got excited because I saw that.
Oh.
And I was like,
oh, that's lovely.
oh, same reaction. So I'm gonna keep adding my color in. So I kind of move fairly quickly, and then I just kind of blend it in more with water. Oh. And it kind of blended into my yellow, but I actually like that. Whoa, those turned out super moody.
Yeah, this is awesome. It's like it looks like a little planet.
I love that. It does. It's a whole new planet. not a whole new world.
New planet.
I don't know if that makes it look. Had some, so I just dipped into my color and just added a few because it's wet, so it explodes really cool like that. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do is for my moon part is I'm gonna take just a little bit of color but have more water on it so it's a little bit more damp. And then I'm gonna add water and just kind of blend it in. If you want a harsh line, you can't. I just want it to be a little bit blended in. I went over, oops. And if you go in too much, you need to reshape your moon. That's all good. Does that look like a curve? A circle?
Yes.
There we go.
Shift it a little to the left.
Oops, left.
Yeah, your left. Perfect.
Okay. You can see my pencil lines. I'm just gonna.
That's okay. It looks neat.
Add more dots in there. Blend that in. Fun.
That is a cool sky.
So fun. Okay, so you can see we took the same project, but even that looks a little bit different as well. So there's so many different ways you can do this. Now, while that is drying, because that will take a couple minutes, is doing some lettering. There are a few practice worksheets that you can download on our website at letsmakeart.com, and you can get these for free if you don't have them already. And there's a few ones I want to show you for this box, or for this project. The first one is, you'll notice that if you download it, there's two. They look super similar. One says faux calligraphy with a brush pen, and the other says faux calligraphy with a regular pen. So if you're familiar and comfortable with using a brush pen, you can totally use it as it's not necessarily, I guess, meant for, by creating these thin and thick lines. However, I want to show you a trick because you can do that, create that same thin and thick lines without having to focus on the thin on the up, thick on the down while you are drawing it. So what I mean by that is, okay, well, I'll show it once on here and then I'll go to the final one. What you're gonna do is you're gonna follow these steps. You're gonna do the same thing. So I left some room so you can do it. Sarah went and did some already. And you will use this brush pen. So a brush pen is flexible, which means that you can get thin strokes and you can get thick strokes based on the amount of pressure. But like I said, I don't want you to worry about that if that's a new concept for you, because I know you can still create the same look with this step. So the first step is writing it regular. I'm not thinking about the amount of pressure. I just simply wrote it how I normally would. Now, what you will see is that there's arrows on here, and that is used to note when you will add the thick lines. So we're gonna create this look right here. So what happens is that when my hand is going up, I'm gonna leave it thin, but when my hand is moving down, so see how my fingers are moving in a downward direction, I'm just gonna overlap and make that line thicker. So same thing here is thick on the down, so I'm just gonna overlap and make that a thicker line. Same here, thick, so thin on the up, thick on the down. Thick on the down, thin on the up, thick on the down. So that way you can see if I were to continue to do this, it is the same thing as if I were to use this brush pen and think thin on the up, thick on the down, thin on the up, thick on the down. Horizontal lines are usually thin, thick on the down, thin on the up, thick on the down, thin on the up. They look similar, right?
Totally.
So you can use either technique. So that's the one with the brush pen. The other one is with a regular pen. So that is what I use. Actually, that's a different technique that I'll show at the end. But you can do the same exact thing with just a regular pen. So there is no thin on thick, or you can't create a thick line by me pushing harder with this. However, we can create a thicker line by drawing like I did here. So I did the same thing where I started here with my regular, just simple lettering. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a thicker downstroke, but for this case, I'm gonna actually draw a line and then I'm gonna color it in. So I'm gonna draw a line to make that thicker and color it in. If it's easier, you can think I'm gonna overlap it too and you can color it in like that. That also works, like that. Whichever one works for you. And then with this technique, I'm just gonna overlap it a little bit to smooth out that transition. So you can see how those are 3 different ways to create this thin and thick look by simply starting with how you regularly write. So that's why I know you can do this. Now, there are other practice sheets. I'm not going to go through this all right now, but you can pause if you want to practice this on your own as I created this so that you'll see. I noted on here where there's dotted lines, so you can use that and you can trace it, and then you can say, oh, there's dotted lines, so I'm going to trace that, and then color it in. So that's just to help you practice as you get to know and understand this concept. Oh, this is just another sheet, I forgot I put this in here, is if you want to practice just June, since we're in the month of June, you can do that as well. Okay, so now, whoa! That looks so cool.
I love how it just keeps changing. Like as it dries, it gets more and more.
Yeah, that's so fun. Okay, you also might recognize this project. I did a very basically the same project, a similar one way back when, which means a year ago.
A year ago. Back in
But
my day.
a lot of people didn't do this, and I know how much you all loved this project, and we're doing a different technique with lettering, so I wanted to bring it back in a new way. Okay, so you have the choice. Can you see here? Is that, oh snap.
Oh snap.
You know what, everyone? I'm sorry. I mean, I don't have, the pen, the Micron pen, if you have our box, is sepia. So it's brown.
Oh.
It's not black. I don't have mine with me.
Huh,
And I
that's
realized this entire tutorial or I guess it's just on that. But I just want you to know that you will have brown, not black.
It's the same size pen though, right?
It's the same size pen. Sepia is a really pretty brown color. And then if you want black, you can use the Fudenosuke.
Yeah, nice.
Just wanted to explain that so no one freaks out. Okay, so, but what I was gonna say is that when you're looking at this, you can see that there's 2 different techniques that I used. This one was the brush pen. Actually, I should rephrase that. You might not be able to tell because they look so similar, except that this one's brown. But this is if you want to use the brush pen technique, and this one is using a Micron pen. So you can also see that just the thickness of the stroke, if you feel like you want a daintier, thinner stroke, then I would go with the Micron. If you want a thicker stroke or a thicker line, I would go with the Fudenosuke. So you can, if you feel more comfortable, you can use a pencil and you can sketch out your quote. I realized I did this twice. I did this differently, where this one, I did sometimes the up here on the first hump. I am thinking, because it would get kind of lost, I'm gonna do it down here too. So I'm just gonna pencil sketch this out. Smallest step. So this is just my guidelines for me to see.
Have you ever seen the video of the guy who sings the Whole New World, both parts?
The guy and the girl part?
Uh-huh.
Aladdin and Jasmine?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, it's incredible.
Okay, I want to see it after. Can you do that?
No. No.
I feel like you could.
I don't know.
I want to hear you try.
It'd be high pitch.
Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing like I was showing you, where I'm going to simply trace over, and I'm going to, it's okay that I can see my pencil lines. But I'm just not, I'm applying the same amount of pressure. I'm not thinking about thin on the up, thick on the down. And then, I don't want it. So I'm gonna just focus on this line and then I'm gonna go through the rest because I don't want it to smear. So now, I'm going to go back and I'm gonna add my thicker downstrokes. So I'm gonna go thick on the up, make that spine right there thicker. So the cool thing is that you can decide how thick you want it. So you might look at that and think, Nicole, you didn't really do anything. That is a thinner thick line. If you want to make it a thick line, you can just press harder. And can you see how that made it thicker?
Yes. I think you mean a chunky thick line.
That works too.
Thick and chunky. I think it's an ice cream type of flavor.
Chunky monkey?
Chunky monkey. That's what I'm thinking. With the old Ben and Jerry's.
I'm gonna make that thicker. There's too much room right there. You also can completely ignore it and just make it all thick. If you're like, I don't like that. Is sometimes one word?
Excellent question.
I feel
Grammar
it
doesn't
is.
matter in this world. But let me double check.
Sometimes it's I'm pretty sure it's one word. But maybe you can use it. I don't know. Okay.
It is one word.
It is?
Yep.
Okay. Let me keep going. Okay, so I'm gonna push down. So I know I'm doing this faster, but what you're gonna be thinking about is the same thing that we were talking about. So don't feel like you have to rush and go as fast as me, please, please. I'm just doing this to show you what's going on. Okay, sometimes the smallest step opens a whole new world. Now, you have a few options. You can either do the same technique we were just doing, or I'm gonna now switch over to my Micron pen. And I kind of want to spread this out. I know I don't know if you can see my pencil lines, but I'm gonna take my Micron pen. I just want to open up this lettering so it feels more open, because when I think of opens, I want it to be airy. Opens a.
I like that philosophy.
The opening it up.
Mm-hmm.
Opens a whole. So when you're doing this one, if you're doing the same as I am, I left a little bit more space in between each letter than I probably normally would. I realize these pencil lines might be confusing you or annoying. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue and do a calligraphy technique. But because I'm using the Micron pen, I'm going to create the thicker line by drawing another line. So thin on the up, thick on the down, thin on the up, thick on the down. And when you have a curved one, I'm just going to curve that so it's more like a crescent moon shape. So this is the calligraphy technique, and I didn't mention this before, but we also have a beginner lettering series that we can link. It's the 10th one that goes over it a little bit more as well. So you can watch that if you want to get more practice with that. So now you can see the reason why I added more space in between each letter originally when I had drawn the first step is because my thicker downstroke is taking up more of that space. So that way it doesn't feel so cramped. Now, I can choose to either leave them open. So you can see on both these, this whole quote here, or the whole phrase here is I left it open. Or if you want to fill it in with your Micron pen, that's another step. Or, and/or, you can do all of them too. is I'm going to actually fill in my spaces. I like how they're open, and it goes along with the quote because it opens a whole new world. So I want to feel brighter and airy, and I also want to add some color. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to use my, what color did I got here? Oh yeah, the redder. Yeah, I'm going to use that color. So now I'm just going to have, I'm not going to have a lot on here, so if you need to scrape it off, you can do that, because all I'm going to do is I'm just going to swipe and add some color. So I'm coloring inside my open shapes. Maybe I get a new color. You can mix it up. But the reason why I don't want to have too much color on there is it'll just kind of explode on you. Opens a whole, let's see. Maybe this one I'm going to do an ombre. So I'm going to start with my darkest color. And then gradually start to go into the next color. Or if you wanted to make that one a whole different shade, that would work as well because it's a new world. Okay. There we go.
Wonderful.
That is it. You can, if you want to decorate the outside, but I'm going to leave it the way it is.
You could add a magic carpet in the moon, like do a silhouette.
Have you been thinking about that this whole time?
How can you like that?
He was just waiting to tell you all that.
Do this silhouette with two people on a magic carpet in the moon.
Yes, that would be perfect. Please, someone do that and share with us. We have a Facebook community called Let's Make Art Lettering that we would love for you to join, to share what you make. I'd love to see what your whole new world looks like. We also have an Instagram called Let's Mogo. Well,
Let's Mogo.
Let's Go Make Art. It's a little bit different, but there's a go in there. And I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye. Okay. Keenan called me out and said I didn't blend my moon. So I'm coming back to show you all if you want your moon blended.
It wasn't that aggressive. I said I noticed that you chose not to blend the moon.
It's completely dry, but I'm going to go in and have a little bit of water, and I am going to basically massage over that line. So you don't want to do too much because you don't want to rip the paper, but I'm massaging into it. I actually might add a little, oh, no, I think I like that. But can you see the difference? How does that look more blended?
I can totally see the difference.
Okay.
Not that I would call you out about it, but
So if you want it to have more blended, you can do that. So again, I'm just massaging over that seam basically. I'm going to kind of blend that out. So if you want to add more color, you can. Better?
perfect.
Okay, now bye everyone.